Good morning. Thanks for the welcome. And I'm truly honored to open this conference. In particular, because the management of peatlands is so important for our climate policy and for where we want to get to in 2050. I'll explain to you. We have set ourselves the objective that Europe should become the first climate neutral continent in 2050. So this means, on balance, we do not want to emit any more greenhouse gas emissions in 2050. So what you see here on this graph is a massive reduction of the use of fossil fuels across all sectors of the economy, be it the energy production, be it industry, be it transport, be it heating and cooling. So we expect in 2050 that we will not have anymore a lot of fossil fuels in the system. The main emission source will come from the production of food. So from livestock, from fertilizer use. And to counterbalance those emissions, so to get to the zero, we need to store much more carbon. So be it through technological solutions like carbon capture and storage in the empty gas fields of Norway, or in biomass, in our forests, in our soils. So when you think about climate policy in 2050, it's pretty much about the bioeconomy. You have the emissions from the food production. You have biomass as an important feedstock for industry. So, because even if we get rid of the fossil fuels, we still need CO2 in industries for the production. From where do we get the CO2? Either from biomass or through direct air capture. And then finally, we need to increase the capability of our forests, of our soils, to take in more carbon. And of course, in this, peatlands play such an important role, because peatlands are such a powerful storage of CO2. Unfortunately, as you know, peatlands are currently emitting greenhouse gases. So what we first need to do is to stop these emissions and then really turn them into these storage facilities for CO2 in the long term. So, and we must do this in a way that's not only good for the climate, but equally good for biodiversity, and it must work for the farmers. So we must create a new business model where it pays off to keep the carbon in and not to emit it. So this is something that we at the Commission, we need to work on. We need to create the right policy framework so that a more sustainable agriculture pays off more. And we find new ways of remunerating sustainable agriculture. And from our side, what are we doing here? As you know, our Commission President, Ursula von der Leyen, has set us a very ambitious target for 2030. She wants that by 2030, Europe already reduces its greenhouse gas emissions by 55% compared to 1990. And to achieve that, we also must get better at sustainably managing our land resources. And so what we need to do, or what we are looking into, is for this Fit for 55 package in 2030, how can we give better incentives to member states? How can we improve the governance framework for member states. So what we want to do is we want to set member states more ambitious targets to sequester each year more carbon into biomass, into the soils, the forests, but also into the harvested wood products. So we currently have what we call the LULUCF regulation for this, land use change and forestry. The name already is quite complicated, and also some of our rules are not the easiest ones. So we also want to simplify that and give a clearer focus for where we want to go in the land sector. And what we are putting out there is this vision or objective to make the whole land sector climate neutral by 2035. So we would see that it's possible in 2035 that the emissions from the food production from livestock, from fertilizers, are compensated by all the carbon removals that we do in the land sector. And as I said, we want to be more ambitious, we want to simplify, but we also want to improve the monitoring of the emissions and removals. So, and I think that's also something that features in your program, and is an important one, in particular for peatlands, as we don't have yet all our peatlands in the national inventories of the greenhouse gas emissions. So this is something we need to work on, and I think can provide a much better databases for policymaking. So, and we hope that by setting more ambitious targets for member states will also have bigger incentives to exploit all the opportunities with the management of peatlands. But for us, that's only one stepping stone. The next one is really to get to the level of the farmers and foresters and to create a better business model for them. So this is what we are looking into the carbon farming initiative. So in the first place, how can we make the common agricultural policy more result-oriented, more focused on, okay, you get paid for each ton of carbon that you store. At the same time, we are also looking at how can we mobilize better private money for that. What you see out there is a large demand from the big corporates, from the Googles, Apples of this world, that all want to become also climate neutral for their company. And a lot of them are buying carbon removal credits to offset their emissions. But often these credits are not of a good quality, or give like farmers and foresters a return that would make them do something additional, something that's also good for the biodiversity. So this is where we want to get in and set standards for such carbon removal credits. So this is something we want to work on over the next years until 22-23. So to be really able to offer a good remuneration for those farmers that really go the extra mile and take additional efforts for the climate, for biodiversity. And if we are not able to have a very credible monitoring and certification system for there, this will not work out. This is something we've learned a lot from doing emissions trading markets for energy, for industry. So I think these are very exciting times. So I think we can really make a change here. I hope I've given you a little bit of an appetizer what is to come here at the European policy level, but I don't want to keep you now anymore for really getting into the substance of of your conference. Maybe I just want to say that tomorrow you will have my colleague Célie Pepiette from DG Agriculture. She will tell you everything you need to know about the developments in the common agricultural policy, what we are doing there for creating better incentives. Definitely check this one out. And also we here from DG Klima over the next months, so leading up to the last quarter of 21, we will do a lot of workshops, initiatives. So please check out our website, follow us. And now I wish you a really interesting and an exciting conference. Thanks so much for having me.